Welcome back to the United Pubcast for the latest instalment in a little bit of transfer news and Manchester United discussion. Apologies for the delay and a little bit of a late start. I'm not sure where Larry is. Hopefully he does join the stream, but I waited as long as I could. But you have to deal with me flying solo today, unfortunately, but hope you do enjoy it and do get all your thoughts and opinions in the comment section, and we'll have a bit of a chat because, my God, there is a lot to discuss, both negative, both positive as well. So some weird stories that is coming out in regards to the new kit and sort of what that means for club legend status in regards to Roy Keane and the Glazers and everything. I mean, there's many sort of avenues to look at that kit reveal. I did love it, but I hate that I loved it. It is what it is with that. A lot in and around a lot of the transfer discussion as well in regards to Amrabat, Scott McTominay, and Harry Maguire. I think there is a little bit of news potentially break-in around Donny van der Beek and further developments around Fred. I haven't been too up to date with my Twitter scroll in today, but I will have a scroll through. I've got it open here, just seeing a link with or a little bit of further news around Harry Maguire. So we'll bring that up in a little bit. And a lot to discuss in regards to that. It does look like potentially wheels are in motion in regards to other clubs and their dealings with sort of getting these deals over the line, because it's one of these things in terms of so much of our focus, and probably wrongly so, has been on bringing these players in, bring Amrabat in, bring Mason Mount, Højlund, Onana, selling these players. You think how their pre-season has gone. Like, you think of Fred and his pre-season in terms of, let's say he's going to Fulham or he's going to Galatasaray, what his preparation would be like. He's not been playing. Like, you think surely this, from his personal point of view, I understand Manchester United's business side of things, trying to get a certain fee, etc. But he's just not been playing games. So is that ideal preparation? Harry Maguire has he's probably been getting minutes, to be fair. But if he was to sort of have the ambition or the end goal to be playing for a new club at the start of the season, well, that's not going to be happening. So I'm just thinking this, unfortunately, both for both club and player point of view, has just been I wouldn't say a disaster in regards to the end result, but in regards to one's preparation, whether it be the club or the player, it's been a shocking preparation in regards to these new players. Amrabat's not going to kick a ball for Manchester United at the start of the season. Højlund's not going to be kicking a ball against Wolves. And then these players, let's draw a hypothetical where Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay are playing for West Ham next season. They're not going to be helping West Ham in the first couple of games of the season because they're still Manchester United players. So all of a sudden, we think this was like a long pre-season where things were going to get done. Pre-season's over. Pre-season, we're literally in the season now. Manchester City and Burnley kick off in a few days' time. Manchester United Monday night UK time. So pre-season is over. How these deals, it's the same case every single season. This always happens, always gets dragged on. And here we will be on deadline day talking about deals, sort of trying to get them over the line on deadline dates. It's amazing these sort of businesses and clubs the size of like Manchester United or whoever leave deals this late in regards to sort of proper planning, in regards to achieving success throughout a season. It doesn't look like a successful plan, but it is what it is. We've been doing this for far too long under the Glazers. Unfortunately, Al Good to See says no takeover news. Were you expecting takeover news? I'm not sure. I wish there was. Unfortunately, I've been pretty firm in my belief that I believe there won't be any takeover news for months. I think it'll be potentially around Christmas time, even the New Year, before we hear something concrete. And whether that concrete information is a development, I'm not sure. It might not be. It might just be same old. I'll continuing to look at our options. Who knows? But I think it's going to be months away, unfortunately. Maybe that's a pessimist in me trying to jinx it, potentially. Would I be proven wrong? Would you be shocked if I'm wrong? Probably not. It is just one of those things. And we've got to get to the potential thing around Mason Green. We'll touch on that in a little bit in regards to his training. About a week ago, maybe 10 days ago, all the Manchester correspondents came out and said, okay, Manchester United are going to make a Greenwood announcement before the season. We said, okay, we're finally going to get some conclusion of this and we'll see what happens. We're running out of days. Now they might announce something. They might announce something in 20 minutes' time. Who knows? But would you be shocked if they don't announce anything before the season? I know they told us they would. They told us the club would be sold. It's one of these things that, unfortunately, these things are just dragging out for whatever the case. But it is what it is. So in the comments, do let us know what you think in and around all these things, and anything you do want me to discuss, throw it in there. We'll have a bit of a chat. George, good to see you, mate. Hope all is well. And obviously both Georges as well. And Al, how can the Glazers take bids and sit on them for months? Very unprofessional. I get the question. I share the question, but don't ask me, like, how would I know? I share it. But it is what it is. I think people in the business world have spoken about that. Well, like, okay, not every business transaction. He's worth £5 billion, £6 billion. So it is a very unique deal. I'm fully aware of that. But these people are sort of doing high-level business like this, and a lot of the people are sort of in and around sort of these deals are talking about who have relationships with the Glazers and who have connections, just saying, yeah, I'm professional. They're saying this is not how it's done. They can understand the uniqueness behind it. They can understand that they're having to be extremely delicate around the situation, but there is a way to do it. And that's the word they've used. They said it simply lacked professionalism. And again, does that shock you? Probably not. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So it is what it is. We'll be hearing, as I said, unfortunately, I think in 3 or 4 months, talking about the Glazers stalling and the future of the club is up in the air because we don't know what's happening. Then all of a sudden, we don't spend any money in the January transfer window. We're looking at potentially not making the top 4. Actually, top 5, top 4, top 5. Let us know in the comments. What is Champions League this season? Having a debate with about 5 people today. Still don't know the scenarios where it's potentially top 5. But let's draw a situation where we're going to finish 6 off the back of not investing in the January transfer window because the Glazers are still saving pennies. Then suddenly we finish 6th. Then Eric Ten Hag's job's under pressure. Then rinse and repeat. It is the same old with the Glazers in charge of Manchester United. But we'll crack on with a bit of transfer news. And whether it's news or not, I'll throw Harry Maguire here. You can see it does look like this is potentially developing now in regards to has a little bit of momentum. We all thought this was the likely outcome, but in regards to it actually had to happen. Things were just stalling. Behind the scenes, I'm sure they were it was always ticking along. But here from Standard Sport, Harry Maguire has indicated he's keen to join West Ham if they can agree a fee with Man United. Now, the story came out yesterday that West Ham, I think it was around 60 million for both Scott McTominay and Harry Maguire. So let's just draw the easiest conclusion. It was 30 million each. I think that's probably what was around. Maybe one was 40, maybe one was 20. But the media reports do suggest that it was 30-30 split between Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay. And that's split opinion in regards to a lot of people say, okay, that's definitely worth it. Okay, Manchester United bite their hands off. And other people are saying, well, hang on, West Ham have just signed West Ham have just sold Declan Rice for 100 million. They have cash burning. I'm just thinking, can we sort of get a little bit more? And you can fully understand that argument as well. And is Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay, are they in the same boat? Should they be valued the same? I know a lot of fan opinion is the same towards the players, but if the manager and the business side of things are looking at the asset and the individual themselves, are they worth the same amount of money? You could easily say yes, but you could easily say no. So I'm not sure. In the comments, let us know what you think the value of both Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay is, and do you see a situation where they're playing for West Ham? If I'm a betting man at the moment, I think Harry Maguire will. I don't think they're one of the clubs we said Harry Maguire at the start. I think Harry Maguire, sort of when his time was obviously coming to an end at the end of last season, we'll talk potentially Tottenham, maybe Everton, I think Aston Villa. I think there was 1 or 2 rumours with Aston Villa. West Ham weren't really a club sort of banded about, but they have come in quite late in the piece, and it makes sense in terms of especially the way they play. A manager like David Moyes, you can see Harry Maguire going there and I wouldn't say turning in sort of prime Maldini, but you could see him kind of fitting in and sort of being the player that he was at Leicester and sort of really been a good player for West Ham. So it does make sense in my opinion. Now, the price tag is interesting for around 30 million because I think are we in the game of balancing the books? And okay, we paid 80 million for him, so does our selling transfer fee have some type of connection with that 80 million in terms of not looking like we're losing too much? Or do we just evaluate the situation that we're currently in and the situation that Harry Maguire himself has put himself in? And okay, forget the 80 million. Here's what he is now. How much is he worth? George saying 60 million for both is fair, but you just don't see double deals happening these days. Yeah, look, the double deal in regards to, I don't think they're sitting down doing one transaction. I think they're sitting down and having two very different discussions. But it's obviously very easy to throw them into the one story, no doubt. But Al here, I want to get into the differentiations of the value. But Scott McTominay is valued higher than Maguire. They want to get rid of Maguire, whereas McTominay, they're more indifferent about his sale. That is probably what I would tend to agree with in regards to, there's another tweet here. West Ham are optimistic they can strike a deal for Harry Maguire. Man United already offload him. West Ham will not cover the 190,000 a week wages. That's actually not. Oops, my headphones just gone there. But the £190,000 a week there, if you can still hear us, I'll just plug this back in. Get the microphone to work. There we go. I thought he was on more than £190,000 a week. Now that's a lot of money. There's nothing to sneeze at, of course, but I thought he's on a little bit over that. Now, he shouldn't be over £200,000 a week, but that's what I thought the potential his wage, rumoured wage was, but £190,000 a week wages, but it's hoped he can come to some type of agreement with United to help him cover his salary. That has always been a bit of a story to suggest that United would have to subsidise that, whether that be actually the wage itself or some type of fee on his exit in terms of a couple of £1 million to help him on his way. I'm not sure, but yeah, the wages is going to be a huge sticking point for West Ham. They could easily stump up the 30 million, 40, 50 million for him, no doubt. It's those constant wages of around £200,000 a week, which is simply not going to get, one, from West Ham, and two, from a non-Champions League club. Actually, West Ham, they won the conference, didn't they? They got some type of European football, I take. I assume West Ham in the Europa League. So, look, obviously they still can't afford Manchester United level of wages, but they will have those extra European games, which will bump Harry Maguire's contract up, no doubt. So, in regards to Al's point there, Scott McTominay is valued higher. I believe so. I wouldn't say by much in regards to if I'm selling Harry Maguire. I think take away the narrative around him and the perception and the fans' opinion and the media sort of pylon of Harry Maguire. I think he'd play a little bit over 30. He's worth more than 30. I think it is fair, but if Manchester United are doing their business properly, he's worth more than 30, simply because you can point around at other clubs and see what players are going for. And players, no matter what we think in our current sort of feelings towards Harry Maguire, he's better than that. In regards, as I said, to West Ham, I think he's going to be an extremely valuable defender, far more than £30 million worth. So I think when you do see other players go around other clubs, Manchester United, I think, are well within their right to ask for more than 30. Now, there is a fine balance. You don't go and ask for 60 because the deal's not going to get done. You do need to get this over the line. So there is a balancing act. I think you probably go another, maybe put the bid up to 40, say, okay, we want 40, then see what West Ham come back with. There's a simple middle ground if they come with 35 and that's what you want to accept, probably. But if you're going to accept 35, why not just get the deal done and accept 30? And it makes it a lot smoother for all parties. I'm not sure that's for Richard Arnold and John Murder to sort out, but I believe Harry Maguire, I think if you get 35 million for him now, and it sort of especially get those wages off the wage bill and just sort of wipe our hands at a clean goodbye of Harry Maguire, with all due respect, I think it is best for all parties, and that is only going to get done if you lower the asking fee. As I said, I don't think there's probably a huge gap in valuation. I think Manchester United probably around 40 million, West Ham currently at 30. These deals, we've seen it so many times with us. We've seen it with Onana. We've seen it with Mason Mount. You usually fall somewhere in the middle. So you can see Harry Maguire going for 35 million, which I think is fair. And then you bring in Scott McTominay. That's the interesting one because I agree with Al. We brought this up earlier. Scott McTominay is valued higher than Maguire. I believe so as well, not just from the age profile, but I think his status within the squad as well. He's obviously on far less wages. So this Scott McTominay is actually one of our lowest earners in regards to wages. So that's obviously not going to hinder any transfer fee or any transfer valuation West Ham have. But I think if Erik ten Hag had his way, I think he'd accept like a big fee. So say they came in 50 million for West Ham came in 50 million for Scott McTominay. Erik ten Hag would say, get on your bike down to London. But I think as things stand in regards to the build-up of the squad, added games this season with the Champions League, etc., forget the fan opinion. Forget how we... Now, I feel obviously very positive about Scott McTominay, but the unanimous sort of feeling, or the majority feeling towards Scott McTominay is quite negative, very similar to Harry Maguire. They'll say, yep, ship him off to West Ham. I think if Erik ten Hag was looking at the situation, obviously values Scott McTominay now. He's getting rid of Fred. Looks like he's going to get rid of Donny van de Beek. If you just start sort of shipping out midfielders, what situation do you find yourself in December, January, February? If you have one or two injuries and Casemiro's on his third suspension of the season, you're going to need bodies in there and people you can trust. No matter what we think of Scott McTominay, Erik ten Hag obviously trusts him a great deal. So, he's obviously made the decision to sort of maybe lean towards more McTominay than Fred. He's happy to let Fred and Donny van de Beek be the ones to depart the club, and someone's going to have to pay through the... I wouldn't say pay through the roof for Scott McTominay, but someone's going to have to stump up a lot of cash for Scott McTominay to tempt Erik ten Hag to sell him, where it looks like with Donny van de Beek and Fred, they're kind of... all parties are sort of, okay, we'll just go out the door. We don't get what the transfer fee is. We'll just get the deal done, no matter how it does look. Where Scott McTominay, there does look like there's a bit of haggle in there. So Erik ten Hag, as I said, I think if someone comes in with 45 or 50 for Scott McTominay, I think the deal gets done, and I think Scott McTominay would weigh up the situation where he could see guaranteed first-team football. But I also look at, throw West Ham into this discussion. It's the interesting bit with West Ham in regards to Scott McTominay and the price tag. let's say 30 million. I think he's probably worth 40, in my opinion, especially when you sort of throw the names and number transfer fees around that we have seen in the last couple of weeks. My main thing now, I'm not saying Scott McTominay is better than Declan Rice. Now, I don't rate Declan Rice too highly, but I'm not going to sort of go out on a limb and say that. But I know Declan Rice isn't £70 million better than Scott McTominay. If Scott McTominay is playing against Declan Rice tomorrow, who do you expect to come out on top? We'll demand Scott McTominay would. And 9 times out of 10, Scott McTominay does for Manchester United over Declan Rice. He's actually run over the top of him quite a few times. So I'm just thinking, I'm not saying Declan Rice is not going to be a great signing for Arsenal, but he's not a £70 million player better than Scott McTominay. So Manchester United are well within their right, in my opinion, to say, look, Declan Rice is worth 100 million. No, obviously not. They're not going to demand 100 million for Scott McTominay, but they can say he's not worth 30. So that is where the sticking point could become a little bit tricky for West Ham in regards to, I think the Harry Maguire thing could be quite straightforward. Scott McTominay, I think Manchester United value, as Al says earlier, probably a little bit higher than what a lot of the fans do, no doubt. But we'll just get to one or two more comments and we'll move on with potential incoming as well. But George, West Ham are in Europe. Yeah, as I said, I thought they were in the Europa League from the Conference League victory. Europa teams aren't paying anyone over 120k a week. It's interesting, like that's the feeling. But in regards to the money going around now, in regards to some of these lower league, I'd say lower league teams, but the smaller teams in the Premier League, it's crazy. Like they're going to be paying top tier wages eventually, and they're going to have to start with some players. In terms of if they want to bridge that gap to sort of consistent European football, they're going to have to pay European wages. So they're going to have to start somewhere. And Maguire can't wait for Friday kickoffs. Yeah, obviously European football. Or Friday morning for us here in Sydney, obviously Thursday nights in the UK. And Al, I heard United have to give Maguire around 10 million as subsidised. That's what I was alluding to, whether the fee is 10 million or 2 million or 15 million, I'm not sure. But you'd have to say whether that might just be a constant payment to West Ham in regards to subsidising the wage as that contract continues, or just one lump sum. You would like it to be maybe one lump sum and just sort of wipe your hands, as I said, but maybe from a business point of view, it's more beneficial for them to sort of pay it over the length of a West Ham contract. It's a little bit messier, but it is what it is. Manchester United have been doing very messy deals for the past 18 years under the Glazers, no doubt. So move on to the latest on Amrabat, and just a case of just your thoughts on Amrabat and where you feel it currently sits. Do you think this deal happens? Because I don't think he's playing with Fiorentina at the moment. I'll just bring up Fabrizio Romano's Twitter page, see if he has any latest developments on him. But it does look like this Amrabat deal is going to happen. But my sticking point at the moment would be, my feeling is around, it's only going to get done if/when we start selling some midfielders. Now, you can throw McTominay in that discussion if you want, but I'd more so look at Donny van der Beek and Fred. And as I said, Donny van der Beek with Sociedad and Fred with, let's say, Galatasaray or Fulham, it does look like it will get done at some stage. That's what I mean. At some stage, it could get done on deadline day. Now, does that mean we're not going to bring Amrabat in until deadline day and those deals are resolved? That can't be the case, but we've said that so many times with Manchester United. It simply could be a case. And that would be, again, I don't want to say a disaster because it's a long season. Whether someone comes in the 1st of August or the last day of August, they've still got a lot of games in between. But in terms of preparation and the game against Wolves on the first day of the season compared to whoever we're playing on the 36th and 37th game of the season, they're both worth 3 points. So they're just as important no matter where they are in the season. And look at last season. If we had those 6 points at the start of the season against Brighton and Brentford, where would our season have finished? Now, maybe I forget how many points we were behind Arsenal. It was probably more than 6 points. But that momentum that would have given you, maybe we're in a different position when we go to the Emirates for that middle of the season match. And, okay, we've got more confidence because we're 6 points closer. And that result is different. And it has a very different look in terms of your final place. And so we can look and say, it doesn't mean anything. There's no rush if we get him in. He's only going to miss 2 or 3 games. 2 or 3 games, they're just as important, if not more. So we'll just have a bit of a scroll through Fabrizio's Twitter. I'll just bring it up here and look for any latest. I can't see anything too much. Is an hour ago. A little bit here on just have a bit of a scroll, a little bit of football news. So anything else in regards to other clubs, maybe he'll sort of give us a talking point or two. So let us know in the comments if anything here does tickle your fancy. But I understand Manchester City have now offered Kyle Walker new contract as the proposal has been improved. Kyle Walker, I think he's a Manchester City player. I think he'll be there for a while. He's obviously potentially been one or two other clubs. The big signing for West Ham, Edson Alvarez. A lot of people want him at Manchester United, no doubt. So does that potentially hinder the Scott McTominay purchase if he's going to West Ham. That's interesting. Whether he's always been a long-term target or this is I wouldn't say a replacement for Scott McTominay. That's interesting, no doubt. But I'm scrolling through here a couple of hours. Usually he's just Fabrizio Romano, not to be critical of him, but it's nothing but Manchester United and Amrabat updates. So I'm not sure where this is going. He needs to give us something Manchester United related. Here he's got a bit on Dean Henderson. Nottingham Forest will speak again to Manchester United the next day about Dean Henderson deal. That's actually the Dean Henderson. That's what we've forgotten. I don't think that happens now in regards to the deals Forest are doing. As I said, they talk about Matt Turner. I don't think that deal gets done now with Dean Henderson. And can he be the backup keeper at Manchester United? I don't think he can. I don't want him to be, and I've got my feelings towards Dean Henderson, but it's simply we can't be in a position where he's the backup goalkeeper. He's not going to play. Onana's going to be playing every single game, Champions League and Premier League. And then Dean Henderson's going to find himself in the same position that he was under David De Gea. So what do we do if Forest can't get this deal done for Henderson? We're in a mess. I don't know. Who's our backup goalkeeper against Wolves? Is it Tom Heaton or Dean Henderson? It's Tom Heaton. And I think deservedly so off pre-season. I don't think Dean Henderson hasn't played. I don't think he has. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Henderson's played for Manchester United under Erik ten Hag. So that's a mess. So we're talking about Harry Maguire and all these Donny van de Beek, Scott McTominay. Dean Henderson, he's a player who you could argue maybe is worth 30 million, 25 million. And we're potentially going to blow this. I say that. Who knows what's going to happen there? Do let me know your thoughts. But I'll go this far from Amrabat update, but Fabrizio, this is yesterday. Manchester have a new round of talks scheduled over 4 deals. Maguire and Scott McTominay, which we've obviously touched on. Donny van de Beek loan. I thought that was actually a sale. That's interesting. What are we going to learn from a loan for Sociedad? I don't see that. Sell him. Look, I like Donny van de Beek, but if his time's over, sell him. What are we going to learn now? I understand probably the only way we can sort of move him on is loan, because that's unfortunately the contracts we put on these players and our refusal to accept certain bids. So I can understand why that is going to happen, but are we going to say, he's had a good spell at Sociedad, he can be a new midfielder next season? That's not going to be the case. And Fred, permanent transfer with several clubs, and we've obviously seen that. And Amrabat and Todibo, sorry. I seen that the other day, that pop up his name. Never seen it, as I said, I can't even pronounce the guy's name. My God, Twitter say, yep, get this guy. Always been a fan of him. What club does he play for? Now, maybe you do know. No one heard of him yesterday. Now, apparently, he's the savior to Manchester United's defence. Maybe he is, maybe he's not, but Twitter's reaction to his link, they're saying, yep, this is going to make it a great transfer window. His name literally was unheard of 2 days ago. Now he's going to save Manchester United's transfer window. If he comes in, I'll absolutely fall in love with him, of course. I just don't have a clue who he is. I'll be honest with you there. And George saying here, Amrabat only happens if McTominay leaves. In regards to the profile of player, and I think the way they would sort of line up in a Man United midfield, I would agree. But I just have a feeling in regards to two midfielders are leaving in Donny van de Beek and Fred. So I think you can see a situation where McTominay stays and Amrabat stays, no matter while they are maybe similar in what they offer, maybe offer to different degrees and different levels, but the traits are very similar at times. That doesn't make too much sense in regards to keeping two similar players, but it's a squad game. You definitely do need some strength in depth, and I do see a situation where both of those players are Man United players if Fred and Donny van de Beek do secure their futures elsewhere. Another name, what we're talking about, numbers in midfield, maybe this will impact Scott McTominay's future. Kobe Mainoo, such a shame with that injury he picked up against Real Madrid. But will Mainoo get a bigger role if McTominay, Van de Beek and Fred leave? I feel like we've burned out with more games. It's so interesting what's going to happen with Kobe Mainoo now, because I think when the starting 11 was announced for Real Madrid, you thought, hang on, if he has performance here, he's going to be in the plans. And not the plans to start every game for Manchester United, but almost to maybe be Scott McTominay or be a Fred or be Donny van de Beek, play 15 games this season. Then suddenly that he gets that injury. Now you can think, okay, well, when he gets back fit, he'll resume that role. And Erik ten Hag will then put him straight back in place and he'll continue on and develop. That simply, it looks good on paper. That sounds good. That's simply potentially not going to be, that's usually not the case, because when a player comes back, he's now going to have to play. He's going to have to go get his minutes in the under 23s. Is he going to develop the same? Potentially not, who knows? But he was on such a smooth path into the first team. Now he's going to have to go back to the start, and you don't know how. He might pick up another injury. He might just be in bad form. He might be in great form, but then Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes are putting 10 out of 10 performances, so there's no room to fit into midfield. And I'm just thinking, it's such fingers crossed Kobe Mainoo comes back in and sort of hits the ground running and becomes part of Erik ten Hag's plans. But just that injury has just thrown a complete unknown in there. Who knows what's going to happen now? I'd like to think the positive, but we've seen this so many times where players come in, they on the verge of getting their chance, just pick up an unfortunate injury, or someone's in form, or someone scores a goal, and it changes the manager's opinion. I think the plan was to give Manu that bigger role. It was the injury, unfortunately, which has potentially thrown a bit of a spanner in there. But I'll say an unpopular opinion, but I think Amrabat is overrated. His best performance was during the World Cup rather than club play. I'm not complete, as I said, I've made my feelings pretty clear on here over the last couple of weeks. I'm not entirely sold over him. As I said, I'm in a very sort of small minority who likes Scott McTominay. I'm not saying Scott McTominay is better than Amrabat. I think Amrabat has probably got a little bit more about him, but for that money, and again, we're not breaking the bank for Amrabat, so I do welcome the sign, and it's not crazy business bringing him in for, let's say, I know what the price tag is, 30, 40 million. I think that's fine. But we've seen so many of those 30 or 40 million signings over the last 10 years just they come in, they look good at another club, or they look good for their country, and they come into Manchester United and you think, oh, yeah, Manchester United's a different kettle of fish. And I think that is where Erik ten Hag, he's looking at Scott McTominay and look at, okay, I can go get a better player elsewhere. But when it comes to it, when it gives me 38 games throughout a season in terms of the consistency, someone who I can trust in certain situations, I might be able to go get someone who can give me a 9 out of 10. I'll go spend big money on them, but they might not give me a 9 out of 10. I know what Scott McTominay's got to give me in a certain, or a Fred or a play like that is going to give me. That is why those plays are so valuable. That is why I think Erik ten Hag has a very different view of a play like Scott McTominay compared to what a lot of fans do. A lot of fans say, oh, not good enough, get red. But in terms of what a manager wants, he needs certain things, and certain challenges will sort of pop up throughout the season. And you do need players with I don't want to say you have to be a youth product or you have to be a local player or whatever, but having some type of sort of Manchester United sort of DNA or that core in you is important. Like if we start, and I'm not sort of wanting to sell Marcus Rashford or Scott McTominay, but suddenly there are only two sort of real academy players. I know Alejandro Garnacho's there now, of course, but in terms of those players who have sort of grown up through the youth system, it's only two of them. Like I think in our minds we have 5 or 6 scattered throughout the first team. There's simply not. And I think if you were to get rid of one, that's getting rid of 50% of them. And I'm just thinking, what does that do for the dressing room? Is that what we want to see as Manchester United fans, where only one real sort of player who sort of gets it? Now, a lot of players do get it. Obviously, in the club, a lot of players like Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, etc., Lisandro Martinez, that they obviously get it. But we as Manchester United fans, it is important to us in regards to having that connection with our young players coming through. And I do believe Erik ten Hag does value that as well. So I agree, Al. I'm not completely sold on Amrabat. I do welcome the signing. I think he'd be a good arrival for Manchester United. But I think a lot of people thinking, okay, he's got to come in and line up next to Casemiro and take Manchester United to the top of the table. I think, well, I'd say a lot of Fiorentina fans are quite happy to cash in on him. I think we got so heavily invested with him during the World Cup. Fantastic displays for Morocco. What was that? 5 games, 6 games. I just see it was brilliant, 5 or 6 games, and did it on the world stage and looked absolutely brilliant. What's he been doing for Fiorentina? Now, if Erik ten Hag thinks he's been doing the same thing for Fiorentina, I haven't been watching them. Erik ten Hag knows far more about it than me. By all means, go get him. Yeah, I'm just not sold on him. I'm not sold, not on the player, just in regards to his contribution to Manchester United. I think he'd be good. Do we need good or do we need great? And I'm just thinking, bringing good on. We need better players, no doubt. But I don't think it's going to be this massive sort of transformative signing for Manchester United. I simply don't think it would be. But a lot of people do disagree with us, Al, that they think he is the next midfielder, no doubt. But 1 or 2 other topics I was going to discuss before we do wrap up. The Roy Keane kit. I just saw it on Twitter a little bit earlier here in regards to, I'll bring it up here. Look, we can have a Glazers out discussion. We can have an ownership discussion. I've said Rob here. Good to see you, Rob. Hope all is well. Join the debate in regards to Glazers out and funding the Glazers and buying an MUTV subscription or buying the new shirt or having a season ticket or buying something from the Megastore. All these things. We're all hypocrites. Everyone listening to this is a hypocrite in some way. I'm a hypocrite every single day in regards to my support of Manchester United. There is no doubt about that. But if someone can sell a kit, I wasn't sold on this kit when it was sort of rumoured, when all those leaks come out of the kits. But my God, if Manchester United, they have a good PR team. They know what to do. I know all the negatives around this. I know I shouldn't be celebrating this, but it is what it is. It's my favourite player growing up, and they've thrown Roy Keane in the 3rd kit, and they did a little bit of a video sort of unveiling the kit, and it is what it is. Do you want a serious discussion in and around Roy Keane, a club legend, sort of promoting something for the Glazers, that's a discussion we can have. But I can look at Manchester United's biggest legends in regards to someone who a lot of the sort of big fan groups say this would never happen. Brian Robson absolutely gets Manchester United, absolutely loves it. Probably the best player they've ever seen. He works with the Glazers every single, and that's not to be critical of Brian Robson. Absolutely love him, but he works with the club as well. So I just think throwing shit at Roy Keane for promoting the Glazers, I don't agree with. We buy a ticket. We buy a hot dog from the stand at Old Trafford. We buy a shirt. We're all hypocrites. We all buy our Sky subscription. We all watch the games on TV. I think, anyway, all of us, whether directly or indirectly, do somewhat fund the Glazers. So it is what I'm not going out and buy the kit. I don't buy the new kits anymore. Still got some of the retro gear, fake, but it's $10 rather than $190 into an Adidas account. And but they've just done well in regards to he does look good in the kit. And the video was extremely good. If you haven't seen the video, go on to Manchester United socials. I'm sure you'll see it there. But yeah, it is what it is. My favourite player growing up, and always will be. And I'm a sucker for those, no doubt. So he does look good, Roy Keane. I think they just did an overlap. I'm not sure if he's on the overlap, but I've seen Gary Neville's video has just come out. I might give that a little bit of a watch for a bit of a Premier League preview, which we'll be doing if I can get a hold of Larry, as I'm not sure where he is. We'll do a bit of a pre-season, not a pre-season preview, but a season preview, looking ahead to the season, because as I said, it's crept up on us. So I think it's still in my mind 2 or 3 weeks away, and we've still got all these transfers to deal with. But it's in a couple of days, and the talking has to stop. And Manchester United need 100% action. We could have Roy Keane in midfield. That would make my life a hell of a lot easier. But that is simply not the case. But the last point I want to bring up, Mason Greenwood, in regards to this footage of him training at a local park. I say local park. I had a nice set of goals, a really nice grass. So fair play where he's found that local park. But doing a couple of shooting drills with a few coaches sort of thing. I'm sure this has been happening for months, if not a year. It is what it is. So that's not groundbreaking news in regards to Mason Greenwood training. It's just what's the latest. As I said at the start, in regards to Manchester United's correspondence came out last week and said an announcement would be made before the start of the season. Now, there still is time. I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure. But I say, okay, it will be done before the start of the season. Let's say, 2 or 3 days this announcement does happen. If it's not tomorrow, then we're saying, well, hang on, there's only a day or 2 left. And if it doesn't happen, then we're saying, well, here's the Premier League season. This announcement hasn't been made. And I agree with everyone. This has to be sorted, that this has to come to some type of conclusion. But I also sit here and say, I know it won't be announced. I know Manchester United will sweep this under the carpet and this will rumble on for months and months. And I don't know. This is not a debate. Should Greenwood play or should he not play? This is just, I don't know how this situation looks. I don't know how Manchester United deal with this. Draw a hypothetical where they bring Mason Greenwood back into the first team. Could just imagine that tweet that goes out and the statement up on the Manchester United website. I can't imagine it. I don't know what that statement looks like. I don't know what that they say. I don't know how they word it. I don't know what Mason Greenwood's first interview back looks like. These things, and I don't think Manchester United know what anything looks like. So I think that's why they're sort of sweeping this under the carpet and just sort of kicking it down the road. And we're playing a waiting game now, because if they are true to their word, we will hear something. Greenwood can kick on with his career. Manchester United, both the players, the club, and the fans sort of can move on and sort of deal with whatever they have to deal with in regards to their moral debate. And no right or wrong in any of it, but everyone will have different opinions and different ways of dealing with it. That's going to come to an end. That we've been told that we will get that answer very soon. I just think my hunch says we won't. And that can't happen. I understand that can't happen. I'm fully aware of that. It doesn't need to end, but the club sale should have ended as well. So do let me know what you think of the Mason Greenwood situation, what you do think will happen and when it happens. No doubt. But 1 or 2 more questions to wrap up before I do say goodnight to all. But I'll hear a question on the World Cup. The Australian girls are doing great at the World Cup. Do you think a final is possible? Very possible, no doubt. In regards to, you've got to be in it to win it. They're in the quarterfinals now. They are playing. I should know. I do know. They just beat Denmark. They play the winner of France and Morocco, who I believe just kicked off. France and Morocco are still 0-0. They just kicked off now. But I look at the tournament now. So a little bit of Women's World Cup. Show them a little bit of love in regards to. Actually, the Matildas walked past my house today. They're staying in a hotel up the top of the road, and they went for their morning walk today. And it was a little bit early for me. I said, should I go out and get a photo with one of them? And I thought I was just in short and T-shirts, and it was a little bit cold. And, I just sort of had a look at them when they walked past on their morning walk. They're training not too far from my place as well. But I think they've left now. I think they're going back up to Brisbane for the week. But they obviously had a good win last night in Sydney against Denmark, very comfortable, and Denmark are very solid. So fair play to the Matildas for coming out on top there. They'll play the winner of France and Morocco. France are solid, but in saying that, Australia beat France before the World Cup. So they're obviously full of confidence. And if they play France, they'll go in without thinking they have a hell of a chance at winning. And off the balance of play this tournament, you'd have to say Australia potentially favourites for that match. They would play the winner of England and Colombia. England, interesting situation now. I don't think they've had one or two sort of very, very good spells in matches, but they almost went out to Nigeria. Penalties, obviously Lauren James is now suspended. That's going to, I think, really hurt them. It's probably good from a Manchester United point of view. I think Ella Toon now comes in for Lauren James, so that's good for us in terms of us Reds watching the match. But it's a big hurt for England. Not that Ella Toon comes in. I think she'll contribute greatly, but Lauren James is their best player. So any team losing their best player is no doubt going to hurt. But Australia a chance at winning. I don't think they will, but definitely they've got a chance. What the Australian team have done well with this tournament is they've fed off the crowd, they've fed off the energy in regards to ability and the way they play. Yeah, it's not the best in regards to, especially compared to the other nations, but you don't need to be the best to win a World Cup. You just need to be the best on 90 minutes. You need to get the job done. And that's what I do think this team is able to do in regards to the feeling around them. Obviously, you've got huge support. They're playing in front of huge crowds, which unfortunately probably never really had sort of 75,000. 2 games they've had 75,000 people there, so they absolutely love it, and they're feeding off that, and it's a bit maybe intimidating to the opposition. So they're playing in a World Cup on our doorstep. So I don't think the Matildas will win it, but I can see a situation where they do, no doubt. And that's World Cup football, no doubt. My hunch at the moment in regards to a winner, I don't think many people would have had. Maybe actually, I do know 1 or 2 people who potentially did tip them at the start, but from what I've seen of Women's World Cup now, I think Japan. I think they're comfortably the best team. And it wouldn't shock me at all if Japan win. I do want Australia to do well, and obviously want Manchester United's contingent with England to do well. So I'd love to see England or Man United win it. But my hunch at the moment, Japan, they look on a different level to everyone else. But I'll leave you there. Apologies, Larry's not with us. I'm not sure where he is, but fingers crossed all is well. But yeah, please leave a like on the video. I do appreciate joining us and sort of getting all your comments in. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, so you hit that notification bell, and whenever we do go live, post-match or breaking news, you can join us in the chat and have your say. And on the podcast app, search United Pubcast in your podcast app, so iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. I just had a bit of a look back at Fred's time at Manchester United in terms of his leaving, what I made of his contribution to United, and my feelings towards Fred. So if you need a little bit of audio on your way to or from work, go give that a download. That'd be very much appreciated. And we'll be back, as I said, either tomorrow or the following day in regards to probably a proper big season preview in regards to maybe look at 1 or 2 rivals, etc. as well. But hope everyone has a good day and or a good evening wherever you are. And I'll chat to you soon. Cheers.